Hey, everybody, we are back and we have a special guest tonight. And you can see Sabrina is not with us because our guest is in Japan.
Mhm.
As you guys know, I'm right now in Virginia. So Sabrina is in Sleepy Town right now. So she will be back on our next episode. But today we have Lauren Lonsdale. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So today's topic is kind of I feel like is really important to talk about.
Mhm,
You see spouses all the time asking like, does anyone have like a job to work from home, or
mhm,
how do I
mhm.
get into the job career, finding jobs, things like that. It's just a struggle for military spouses. I know
Right.
it was a struggle for me. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and then we can dive deep into that.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, we are currently stationed, like you said, in Japan. We are in Okinawa. My husband is active duty Marine Corps, and we have been, or he's been in the military for almost 16 or a little over 16 years now. And we have three daughters, ages 8, 9, and 12. And it's our first time in Okinawa, first time actually overseas at all. So, kind of doing that time difference and time, adjusting to everyone back in the States
Mhm.
is always a little weird at first, but we've been here for a bit now and we really enjoy it. And I run right now two businesses. I have Aura Digital Consulting, which is a web design and creative marketing firm. And I have four virtual assistants, all military spouses that work with me on that. And then I also have the work from home Milspo, which are courses to teach military spouses the same sort of skills in web design, email marketing, branding, SEO, so that they can work for some of the VA agencies that are out there, like Freedom Makers, Wise Advice, Squared Away, things like that. They can have those skill sets as they go to apply, or they can run their own businesses. Or if they have their own business already and in some capacity, it doesn't have to be in web design, but as a product based seller or whatever, and they're interested in learning that tech side of their business and their website, their email marketing, they can also take the course. So super busy. Have been working from home pretty much my whole career. I have my master's in education, but I taught only for a very short time before we started having kids. Being a military spouse, teaching and moving and babies just did not fit
Yeah.
well together.
It
Yeah.
well, and, like, what's unfortunate is, like, as much as, like, we all wanna have families and things like that, it really does
Mhm.
take a toll on your career.
Yes.
I have a bachelor's degree, haven't done a job in that field, but, like I
Yeah.
said, I was reading your profile, and you very similar, and I know that this is probably very common across the board where, like, you have a job, and then we have
Mhm.
kids, and then we become that parent that has to consistently be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
my kids I have to take off, I can't be there,"
Yeah. Yeah.
all those kind of things, and that can cause really big hardships,
Yes.
between employers and employees and things like that. I know I was let go from a job, but I was unhappy with it, so I was kind of like,
A blessing
"Yay," but
in
I also was
disguise.
just like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, my heart, like, how
Yeah.
dare someone I worked really hard," things like that.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that came in it, but their reasoning for it was because, you know, I had to take off when my kid was sick,
Yeah.
and when he had to go to the doctor, I was the person that had to take
Yeah.
my
The
child all the
primary
time, and so,
caregiver. Right.
after that is when I started looking into doing something from home, and so I
Mhm.
did some freelancing, like, I saw in your profile you did freelancing for a
Yeah.
while, and I started doing some
Mhm.
freelancing, and I taught myself
Right.
how to build websites,
Mhm.
and, now I work for my family business, which I'm very fortunate for. I get to work from home for my
Great.
family business, but if I didn't have that opportunity, I would have probably kept going in that building web design, social
Right.
media, things like that, and so
Right.
but also I feel like there's a lot of people, and I'm excited because you started the work from home Milspo in 2022?
Yes. Yeah.
Where did that idea come from? Like, why did you wanna create this program?
Yeah, so I just saw a need in the market, kind of like, we talked about before we hit record, seeing all these spouses always asking questions about, hey, what's a work from home opportunity that I can
Mhm.
have that's remote, that's PCS friendly, that I can do with my kids at home. I don't need to be on the phone. I don't have to do sales. And I kept seeing these things pop up. And every time I'd be like, gosh, being a virtual assistant, which I had done for so long, is such a great, job, a career that I've had that is PCS friendly, that I've never put my kids in daycare. I don't have to take time off. I don't have to ask anybody for time off if they're sick. I can do it at 5 in the morning before they wake up. I can do
Yep.
stuff during nap time. I can do stuff at night. Nothing is like set hours. I moved it from four into four different states and now moved it to Japan. And I kept thinking, if only people knew that this was available to them. And then what I found out is that, or not found out, but kind of learned over time, was a lot of these VA agencies, once 2020 hit, once COVID hit, a lot of people started to work remotely, and
Mhm.
then people had more skills to work remotely. So VA agencies like Squared Away, Wise Advise, Freedom Makers, or any VA agency that was previously seen as entry level, you could go in and learn the skills as you worked with them, was no longer entry level. They want you to come in knowing Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Asana, Canva, Adobe
Mhm.
Illustrator. They want you to know all those things before you even apply. And spouses were going, I know I could do this, but I don't have the experience yet.
Yep.
So the courses were kind of born out of, okay, hey, I'm self-taught too. This is how you do this from the like nothing. I'm going to tell you like, how do you purchase your domain? Step
Yep.
one. How do you connect that to your
Yeah,
server,
because,
your
like, when
host?
you teach yourself, it's like you are just flying by the seat of your pants. I
Right.
remember the very first time I created a website, and I didn't have my degree didn't come with, like, a
Mhm.
lot of I mean, it had marketing and it had some creative outlet stuff in it, but I didn't have courses in graphic design or anything like that.
Right.
Like, I just have a
Right.
very creative mindset, and so
Mhm.
going in, I was looking at that, I was like, "This would have been fantastic if I had had this as a younger
Right.
spouse," because I we if you've listened to our episodes before, my I joke that my resume looks like I just Googled and copied and pasted. None of it makes sense. None of it is in the same, like,
Yeah.
career path, really. It's all over the place, and, when you're a spouse, you don't wanna be that you wanna be able to contribute when you and then when you kids, that was my biggest thing. After I had my 2nd, I ended up staying home because we can't afford childcare
Yeah.
for 2. My youngest was
Mhm.
3.5 when my 2nd was born. I was like, "There's no way we can afford childcare for 2. Be working just to put them to have some of them, that's absurd."
Yeah.
Um, so having these programs out there for military spouses who
Mhm.
are looking for that creative outlet or for something to do and they can do it at home
Right.
is a fantastic resource, and
Yeah.
I think it's really great that this is out there because, yeah, there's other programs, there's you can go and get an associate degree or you can
Mhm.
use the different programs that are out there for military spouses, but, like, when I started to get into this, my husband had already kind of passed that rank
Right. Yeah.
for me to be able to apply for a lot of the programs, so having
Right.
program or having the option to have another place to go is
Mhm.
really great.
Yeah. And my big thing is, even so, these courses, yes, were built so that spouses could learn these skills and create these PCS friendly careers for themselves, whether they work for an agency or they run their own business, because I found from personal experience how flexible it was.
Mhm,
But as I've kind of gone through, course cohorts of students and students coming in and out, I found that it goes so much deeper than that in terms of general happiness within the military community. And
mhm,
that cliche of happy wife, happy life.
mhm.
And even though that's not what that cliche really means, when you take that and apply it to military life, there's so many things that having a spouse who generates an income outside of the military can provide to military service members. They, you know, having that additional income helps eliminate some of that food insecurity that 1 in 4 military families experiences.
Especially
It eliminates.
nowadays.
Right, yeah, with the high cost of living. It eliminates the struggle of mental health. Having personal and attainable goals is huge, whether it's career or personal focused. Then having that as a military spouse and being able to provide that, as, my whatever they end up doing. But having those personal and attainable goals can really contribute to the overall happiness of the military family when they have to PCS. Having a
Mhm.
career that is flexible where spouses are, meaning not location wise, but meeting spouses where they are, they need something that doesn't cost childcare, that
Mhm.
can be done on weird hours,
Yep.
that can be moved from one place to the next very easily without a company saying, "Oh, well, we don't have business in that state, so we can't keep you there. We
Yep.
can't have you work remotely." I think that's a big part of what military is missing is meeting families where they are now and actually providing them the resources that they need, not getting a job with Amazon that they have to be on the phone because that's not meeting them
No,
where they are,
especially when you have
you know?
young kids, like, that's not
Right,
doable, and, having that flexibility and being able to kinda control your own schedule and do things on your own time, like, has been
right.
really great, like, I know for myself, that has been one of, like, the biggest perks of being a person like, working from home and, doing things is not
Mhm,
only how am I able to still work and work for 40 hours a week,
mhm,
but I'm also able to do the podcast, and I'm able to do
right,
deployed love, and I'm able to do things that bring me, joy outside of, like, work. Like, to me,
right,
work is work. I enjoy what I do, but, like, I still get to go out and mingle with people and do things that
right,
I really enjoy, because I have
mhm.
that opportunity, but if I had
Yeah,
worked in an office, I
mhm,
wouldn't have been able to do that as much as I
right.
would like, and so but it's, finding that, like, so we you have this great program in place, and what is, like, some of your, like, top tips to, like, military spouses on, like, how to get started, either A, creating your own business in terms
Mhm.
of something to work from home, or getting involved with some of these VA companies?
Yeah, so the one thing that I really encourage spouses to look at when they're interested in working and being a virtual assistant is to look at some of those military spouse owned or hiring friendly virtual assistant businesses. The big ones are in general, in terms of just virtual assistants, are Freedom Makers, Squared Away, and Wise Advise. Now there's other virtual kind of job boards, like Instant Teams has
Mhm,
remote positions, but they're in any niche and they're not always remote. Sometimes they're location based. VirtForce also has some virtual assistant type positions, but it also has other positions as well. So, one, going to those companies' websites and seeing what skills they are looking for. You can't, like I said, you can no longer go in as entry level. You can't just be like, "I really like Facebook and I know what I'm doing on Instagram." That's not gonna be enough. Now you have to have these actual skill sets. So looking to see what skills they want and then trying to find different programs that offer those skill sets. The difference between my course and something like you might find through Coursera or something like that, which there are some free options on Coursera, the Google UX and UI and
mhm,
stuff like that. That's very general speaking. They're not talking about specific platforms like Wix, like Squarespace, like WordPress, which are all web design platforms. I know you know that, but
yeah,
telling the audience, yeah, all web
yep,
design
yep.
platforms. They don't talk about MailChimp and MailerLite and Flowdesk, which are all email marketing platforms. They are very generalized. And so that can be really hard to take that general knowledge and apply it to specific platforms, which is what these agencies are looking for. So really finding, some courses or some programs out there that have very specific skill sets because that's what the agencies are looking for. And even if you are interested in one day opening your own freelancing style business, I do encourage anyone who's new to work for an agency first because there's so much more that goes into owning your own business, your taxes, your invoicing, your client management, and then you also just have your regular marketing, your own social media, your own, client retainment, client procurement. That all takes up time. But if you are still focusing on how to, really hone in those skills, working for an agency allows you to just work for a client and not worry about all that other business
Yeah,
stuff. So, really that's what I would say would be, even if you're new and you are like, I want to just be my own boss, that's great, but really you need to kind of focus on getting those skills set in place first. And
Yep.
that's why I recommend working for one of those agencies. So,
Yeah, and, it's honestly not a job that everyone can do in terms of, like, building website design and
sure.
creating graphics and social media, things like that. So, like, know that that might be a great option for a lot of people. There are other organizations out there that do have at home, like Team. We actually partner up with Team quite a bit
Huh.
with the Fort Liberty location because they have
Okay.
their 12 million plus
Yeah.
location. But, when it comes down to, like, the program, so talk about the different courses that you do offer. Like, we've kind of already touched base on, like, you have a couple of courses on website design. Is there anything
Mhm.
else that you have that you guys offer?
Yeah, so I have a master class that does web design on those 3 platforms, the WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, and it also includes email marketing in MailerLite, Mailchimp, and Flowdesk, and it talks to you about how to connect all of those. So if you have a WordPress and Mailchimp, how that connects. If you have WordPress and MailerLite, how to connect those 2, how to set up email campaigns, pop-ups, how to design an opt-in. We do Canva, a little bit on Canva. We talk about creating a brand board, how to find your hex
Nice.
values for a brand, how to create a simple logo in Canva, how a logo in Canva is not copyright
Yep.
eligible, like a logo designed by a graphic designer. We also do SEO, which is search engine optimization. We talk about how to do that within a blog post as well as a website as a whole. And in the masterclass, I also have business formation. I have 2 actually military spouse experts, a business formation lawyer and a CPA who did guest videos for us on business formation and business taxes as military
Oh,
spouses. Yeah, and
that's
what
awesome.
you should be considering. And then we also talk about client management. So, how to write a proposal, how to invoice, how to keep everyone organized and in task. We use
Mhm.
Asana to kind of talk about how to organize all of your client information. And then I give some, companies that you may want to consider working for as well towards the end. And then that master class is broken down into mini courses. So if you're not interested in taking everything, or maybe you're a business owner who wants to do a Squarespace site, you can just get our Squarespace mini course. You could just do some of our email marketing and take those mini sections instead of the full course. And then I just launched a mini master class, which just teaches Wix, MailerLite. Oh, we also do social media management, so a little bit on social media management. So teaches social media management too, and SEO on Wix. So that kind of gives you like a baseline of what it looks like to have a whole website, email marketing, the whole package, but you're not learning all the different platforms.
Yeah.
So just kind of see if you like it, if it's something that you think you're interested in doing. And then if you are, you can kind of expand yourself into other areas. And then at the by June of this year, we'll have additional courses in course design. So using Kajabi and Thinkific, how to design your own course, print on demand stores, and e-commerce, as well as
Oh,
advanced email marketing and sales funnel.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's actually something that I've been wanting to look in a little bit more on, the actually all 3 of the things that you have coming up, especially specifically more for Deployed Love as we're trying to venture out a little bit more and more of our reach. But
Yeah.
it's very, I love that you guys have the mini course, so all the, like, 100%, like, if you're looking to just get into the whole realm
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
everything, like, that masterclass sounds like perfect because I don't actually have a lot of experience with WordPress or Squarespace. Like, I'm solely Wix. I only know how to work on Wix, and it's just been my go-to. I've built 4 websites, and so that's just where I go, but I would love to learn other ones just to see if it's more doable and things like that. So I think that's amazing that you guys offer all of those different platforms,
Thanks. Yeah.
as an option. And I mean, like I said, this would have been so great to have just a few years, like, even just, like, 5, 6 years ago when I
Yeah.
really started digging into this, because I started out in the marketing in a marketing firm doing SEO work,
Mhm.
and so that's kind
Okay.
of like where I was like, "Oh, let me," like, I got a little bit more into the website design and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I had always done graphics on Canva as
Yeah.
since however long Canva's been out, but
Yeah.
it's one of those, like, it's so interesting, but it's also interesting to have, like, the legal side and the CPA side,
Mhm.
because there's so much that goes into running a business that you don't think
Yeah.
about. If you like, you can't just go on and say, "Yeah, I'll build your website," and then you're marketing that you're building a website, and then you don't do all the legal avenues that can come
Yeah.
back and get you. So make sure you go the right ways. There's a ton of military spouses that are CPAs and stuff like that. You can always reach out and ask questions. That's what's with the military community, is that someone will give you at least a head, like a couple answer a couple of your questions, and then maybe say, okay, that's a lot more. Maybe we need to
Yeah.
schedule
Yeah.
an appointment to chat about the rest. But the military community overall does uplift a lot of military spouses, and so they're out there who want to see you succeed as much as you know it is the happy wife, happy life
Yeah.
mentality. Like,
Yeah.
like I said, I worked jobs, and then after my third is 5.5, and so I've been a stay-at-home mom and working from home for about 5 years.
Okay.
And I can say that I miss working in the office setting, like, just being
Mhm.
able to get out and about, especially, like, when you're on a remote duty assignment, like a special duty assignment, and you're not near a military
Mhm.
installation, because
Yeah.
that's typically how a lot of spouses meet their friends. But at
Mhm.
the same time, it's giving me so much more freedom to do the things that I love and wanna do that I couldn't do. I can go on vacation. I mean, we went to Disney
Right.
for 12 days last year. I didn't have to take off. I didn't have to
Yeah.
do anything like that. I would answer emails when I woke up, during meal times,
Yeah.
things like that, and I was still able to do, like, all the things I needed to do, but still go on this great vacation with
Yeah.
my family. And it
Yeah.
definitely opens up more doors. But there's a lot of work that goes into
Yeah.
that. Like, it's not like a jump in the wagon and then you're good to go. It's definitely a lot of work to be a
Yeah.
stay-at-home, work-at-home spouse.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talk about that. I have a Facebook group that we talk about those things. We talk about setting boundaries, making sure, especially as the primary parent, you're making sure that everyone in the family is on board with what you're
Mhm.
doing because it is a family decision if you are still being the primary caretaker and kind of meshing the stay-at-home mom and the work from home mom. So we talk about, setting up those boundaries and making sure you are not overworking yourself in either capacity and you have that support. And then, you mentioned taking those long vacations and things. That's part of the freedom too, is just having that time. I took 2 months off work to PCS to Japan, and I answered emails. I have a great team that was able to step in and take care of the day to day stuff. But was able to take that time off. I didn't have to ask anybody,
Yep.
and we took a 3-week vacation in around Southeast Asia over Christmas, and, I wouldn't be able to do that if I worked for anybody else,
Yeah.
but it does take a lot of work. Running your own business is not a small feat. There is a lot that goes into it outside of just sitting down at your computer every day,
Mhm.
and if you work for an agency, it's a great way to, like, get your foot in the door and start figuring out what your schedule looks like, how it works for you and your family without having to worry about the business side of it. But yeah, if you can find something that you like doing and that is fulfilling and allows your family to generate a little bit of additional income, you will see, there's so many changes that you will find that you that just naturally happen with that. So yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah.
great career.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it, and like you said, like, it's not easy. You have to be yourself disciplinary. You have to,
Mhm. Yeah,
you have to figure out what works for you. That's always been one of my biggest struggles, just be like, I have to go actually sit at my computer. Like, I can't
yeah,
just do everything on my phone, like, because I'm not getting nearly as much done if I do it on my computer if I'm on my phone. And
yeah,
so I have to be pretty like, no, from this time to this time you're on the computer. Or,
yeah,
no, you can't run to town to go do something today. You have to do work.
yeah,
You can do
yeah,
your errands when you go another day. And
yeah,
so there is a lot of, balancing when it being a stay at home, whether you're just a spouse and you don't have kids, especially when you have kids, because then you're still balancing all of that
sure.
in that. So we typically ask our guests who are military spouses. So you've been a military spouse for
15,
How long?
yeah, 15 years or so,
15
yeah.
years, I was gonna say. We typically ask, like, if you had one piece of advice for a new military spouse or seasoned military spouse, what would it
Mhm.
be?
I get asked this question quite a bit on different
Mhm,
military podcast episodes. And, I've never been able to find the perfect answer because there's so many things
mhm,
that I probably would tell myself. But one thing I think that always kind of stands true is this is so cliche too, but start before you're ready
mm,
because there's a lot of things that can stop you as a military spouse from taking that leap into a new stage of your life, working from home, learning a new skill, whatever it might be. Whether it's just fear of the unknown or not being able, not knowing if the investment's going to be worth it, all of
mhm,
that stuff. There's so many things that you can learn along the way just through the process of making a big change in your life that it can be well worth it, even if it doesn't end up looking like what you think it's going to look like. And the sooner you start, the sooner you can kind of start making those changes and learn new things. I mean, if I had started this career where I am now, I started as a freelance writer once I started working from home. And I had considered starting a VA agency of my own in 2015. If I had done that way back then, I can't imagine where I would be now,
mhm,
but I stopped myself because I was like, it's not the right time. We've got
mhm.
babies, we've got, XYZ. Even if I had started it slowly, the growth that I would have probably seen it by this point would have been exponential. So, definitely don't be afraid to take that leap. Don't be afraid to just say, "Hey, I need to do this for my mental health, to help bring in
Mhm.
income, to help this be a better lifestyle for our family," whatever it might be. So, that's
Yeah,
probably my biggest
that's
piece of
I
advice.
love that because actually our episode that I think is either airing before this one or after this one is all about that, like, live in the
Mm,
moment. Don't, worry about what's gonna come in the future, like, it's gonna work out eventually, like, you have to live in the
yeah,
moment, do the things you wanna do then and there, take that trip, go to school, like, I was one of those, like, I kept putting off masters because I was like, "Oh, we're
mhm,
gonna move," or,
yeah,
"Oh, blah, blah, blah," and I never went and got my master's. Now, granted, I'm glad that I didn't go get my master's just because, like, I
yeah,
don't it would have just been a waste of money for me just where I'm at in life and where,
mhm,
like, what we have going for us in the future, but at the same time I could have been doing something a lot different if I had
yeah,
done that rather
yeah,
than just working customer service, inventory ordering, social media, things like that. So,
yeah,
it's definitely one of those things where for sure you have to live in the moment. You have to just take that leap of faith
yeah,
and continue to do what's best for you. And if it doesn't work out, then you know it doesn't work out. And you
yeah,
know that you tried and you did your best, and
mhm,
that's okay. Be in your feels and then
yeah,
go on to the next thing. You never I think that's what's one really great thing about being a military spouse is it provides us an opportunity to be able to try things that most other people don't get that opportunity.
mhm,
People you can learn from different people, you get to go to different countries, different states, parts of the world, things like that. So we're open to so much more than the typical housewife is
right,
open to, and so it gives us the opportunity to be like, "Oh, that's really interesting," or, "Oh, that's a really interesting hobby," or, "That's a really job. I would be really interested in learning more about how to do that." And so but you have to take that leap of faith, and I think a lot of military spouses are also just kinda like, "Ah, I don't want to because if I do it, and then once you do it, then it's like, "Oh, you're leaving." Like, you got
yeah,
orders to PCS, and
yeah,
you gotta get out of that mindset for sure, because
yeah,
if you're in that mindset of that constant, like, "I don't wanna do it because we're gonna just leave,"
mhm.
you won't grow and be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think, you kind of touched on this a little bit. I think it's also important for newer military spouses, or I guess even ones to get out and network. Most of my
Mhm.
work has come from word of mouth from other spouses or people I have met previously who say, "Hey, I've been watching what you've been doing. I need, this website done, or somebody told me about you, or even being here in Okinawa, having networked with people here, having different job opportunities or client opportunities come up here, like, you do have getting networking is such a underrated way of building a business or building a brand. So if that is something that you are interested in doing, building your own business, whatever it is, or even working as a virtual assistant, there's so many opportunities out there from other spouses or veterans or people
Mhm.
who are kind of doing that side hustle type situation where you can, if you take the time to network and talk to people and go to the spouse socials and volunteer at a different event,
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to meet people who
Well,
may turn into something that changes your
yeah,
life.
exactly, and, like, you touch on it, like, volunteering for nonprofits and stuff like that, like, it's a great way to boost up your resume too, especially if you've
Mhm,
been a spouse that's not been working for a while. I know for Deployed Love, we're always looking for volunteers to go in any area, whether it's social media, it's grant writing, it's anything admin related, we're always looking for people. And so, like, if you're looking for something to build a resume, or if you're looking to learn about it, like, I know for us, we have a great team. We have a team that's very familiar with the marketing and things like that. And so,
mhm.
we're willing to help teach people. And I think a lot of nonprofits are that way too. Like,
Yeah,
hey, like, they just need the bodies to get in there and help them
mhm.
get the name out
Yeah,
and networking is
absolutely.
so important. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how important it is, and military spouses are set up to be in, like, a great spot to
Yes,
network, because
absolutely.
you're pretty much, I don't wanna say forced, but we're pretty much thrown into the arena to network on a daily. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, if you think about it, you're networking to meet other military spouses, to
mhm.
meet friends, things like that. And so just taking that one step further and creating those professional relationships will help
Yeah,
you, especially if you want to have your own business. It's so important. Because that word
absolutely.
of mouth is really where we're at. And so
Yeah,
I,
for sure.
I feel like, especially nowadays, because there's a lot of people are working from home because of
Mhm.
COVID.
Right.
Um, so you have to kind of make yourself stand out, and that's where that networking will come into play.
Mhm. For sure.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Yeah.
do you have any last minute final thoughts on, like, being a stay at home, work at home spouse?
I think, just what I had mentioned about making sure you set those boundaries with yourself,
Yep.
you had touched on it, it is a very, if you are going to be working from home with your kids at home, priority is family, obviously. Make sure your kids are taken care of. There's no like, don't try not to shove the iPads in their faces
Yeah.
and to make sure that, you're setting yourself up for success, even if that means waking up at 5 a.m. so that you have a couple hours of peace or setting time in the evening, that after they're in bed, if that's what works for you, or nap time. And then if you still have itty bitty kids at home who are napping or babies or whatever, one thing I wish I had told myself or learned early was that not to get so stressed out if my day doesn't pan out the way,
Yeah.
like, if I have X many things on my to-do list for work, but my daughter doesn't take the length of nap I want her to take, that I can't be, like, frantic about
Yeah.
how I'm gonna get these things done. In the end, your mom first, and the other stuff will fall into place. You will find the time, you will adjust, you will make adjustments to it. So, I think just making sure you have that boundary and the right mindset of being flexible, because you have to be when you're still a mom and you still got kids coming in and out, and, still have those needs to take care of at home,
Mhm.
are really important when you're first starting out.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And then, like, also just making sure you take the opportunity to have self-care in that process. I think that's really important. I think when we're at home, at least for me, I think this is a big issue for me, is like, I'm in my safe space, my home,
Mhm.
I'm working, I don't have that separation, so I have to a lot of times be like, "Okay, like, nope, you're gonna go work." I used to have my office in my bedroom, and I absolutely hated it. I said I got to the point where I was like, "This
Yeah,
has to be separated. It has to be separated. This cannot stay my desk, my computer, everything cannot
yeah,
stay where I sleep, where I relax, none of
yeah,
that." And so I told my husband, I was like, "Look, you're gonna have to give up a corner of your room," because
yeah,
typical military fashion, he has his own little man cave,
yeah,
in almost every house we live in. And I was like, "You're gonna have to give up a wall or a
yeah,
corner or something, because I cannot mentally, this was not working for me." So,
yeah,
you have to set it up to what works best for you. And so
Mhm.
I was like, I have to have an office space. Like, no matter where
Yeah.
we move, there has to be an office space. So like whether we're sharing a room or we're looking for a place that has 4 bedrooms, whatever it
Yeah.
is, that is how it's gonna be because I cannot work in my home. And once I moved out of that space where I would relax and sleep and things like that, it
Mhm.
definitely helps. So you have to kind of make sure you fill that out as well. So,
Sure. Yeah.
um, but it was a pleasure to have you on. I know
Thank you
you
so
were
much.
starting your day
Yeah.
in Japan, and I am heading to bed. But it was really great having you on here, and we will for our listeners, we will include all of the details for Lauren, including her programs, in the show notes, as well as when we post it on social media, so keep that an eye out for all of those. And likely, like we always say, rock up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Okay.